there we are. Okay. And there were shepherds in the fields. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I just want to say, I just want to share something with you before I start. And I am really genuinely going to be like 10 minutes because it's our Christmas service and we tend to do like a little mini message today. But Anna's here and, I really don't want to make her go red, but she might do, and that's just life. Sorry, Anna. But this is a fantastic book that Anna Sivia, who's in our church today with us and often with us, has written, and it's called The First Christmas Message. It's available on Amazon. I'll leave this out so you can look at it later. And our lovely Mel has illustrated it as well. Mel's out the back, I think. And it is absolutely beautiful. But what's amazing and extraordinary about it is that it's all in rhyme. It's literally verse. And it is amongst the cleverest, most beautiful, just evocative. It takes you all the way into the scenes. So I leave it out so you can look at it later. It's a beautiful Christmas gift. It's not too late, by the way, to buy a Christmas gift. And it's so clever. And I wrote to you, didn't I? And I said, like, at certain points I was reading it and I just laughed out loud because it was so cleverly done. You know what I mean? Just the joy of it. So I commend this to you because it's so beautiful and I want to shamelessly plug it. So Anna Sivia, The First Christmas Message. I'll just pop it there. Sorry, Anna. Big apologies there. Not really. I just want to say a few things about Christmas today. And after 2,000 years and many millions of preachers, what can I possibly say that is different or of any particular interest? Do you know what I mean? There's like, what is there that's new to say? Well, probably nothing that's totally new. But what I have got to show you today is obviously real gold. It's obviously real gold. Although I was saying to Connie that if that was real gold, it would be about £25,000. So I got some gold, but I do have some real frankincense. So if you've never seen any frankincense and you want to have a little look and stick your nose in, it smells a bit, but it smells more when you put oil on it. That's the frankincense. And I've also got some real myrrh. Have you ever seen real myrrh? Go on Amazon, you can get some. So later on, if you want to have a little look at it, and I'm going to put the frankincense on our fire on Christmas Eve because it gives off a beautiful aroma. I don't know about the myrrh because that's more, you would put it into oil and you would put that oil to warm gently or maybe put it on a radiator, and then after it's infused, you would use the myrrh to anoint your skin. It's good for your skin. But come and have a look, have a feel later on, have a little sniff and see how you get on, okay? But the gold, you can take it if you like. It was about $2.99, okay? But you can have it. I just wanted to share some thoughts with you, really, because we've been following the Advent calendar, and two of our wise men, and you can see how wise they are. I mean, only a wise man would wear that hair. They are going to be I said that with my hair looking like this. They are going to help us to light some candles, and Dave is going to come up in a short time. Not quite yet. You're on it. And they're going to help us with our candles because in Hope, we follow the Advent themes in our church, which is really great. And so we've had our first 3 themes. Can anybody remember what they were? I know Susie knows them because she looked them up for us, like she always does. But can anyone remember what the first Advent theme was? Hope or prophecy, both. You can find, they're used in both ways. Peace is the second one. And can you remember the one from last week? What did we do last week? Joy. Fantastic. So who knows the 4th one? Because this is the 4th Sunday of Advent. Anyone know? Thank you, John. It's love today. And that's fantastic. We're going to talk about love. We're going to talk about gifts. Which is why I've chosen the gold and the frankincense and the myrrh. But also today we're going to light our Christ candle as well, because the Christ candle is the candle that's right in the middle. It's the white one very often, and it's the one that's lit on Christmas Day to signify the birth, the actual birth. And this is our Christmas Day service, if you like, so that's what we're going to do. Thank you, John, if you can take us on. So I just want to pause for a moment around gifts and why we give them, because I think we kind of all know, don't we, that we give, why do we give gifts at Christmas, broadly speaking? Why do we give them? To make somebody happy. What was the origins of that? What was the origin of the gift giving? Absolutely, the wise men. So we know that, don't we? And we select our gifts carefully. We make sure that they are right for the person. And we try to bring joy, don't we, and benefit through the gifts that we give. And in fact, interestingly, the gifts themselves are, they're kind of a pale echo of the idea of giving this enormous gift that God gives to man. So if you take us forward one, John, because I haven't got my clicker either, we all know this incredibly well, don't we? We've seen it outside churches and we've heard it read many times. And this is the greatest gift, God loving the world so much that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. And when I was reflecting and thinking, what can I say on Sunday morning? I'm going to be snappy, but I want to be meaningful. I began to think about this gift, and I began to think about giving away something that I value the most. And I thought, what do I value, the most in my life? And I could think of a few material things, but then when it came down to what I value the most, it came down to people. You value people the most, don't you? The people you love the most in your life. I don't want to give away my guitar because I really love my guitar, right? Because I got it for my 50th birthday and it was really expensive, so I don't want to give it away. And if somebody else wanted a guitar and they needed one, I'd rather buy them a guitar than give them mine. Do you know what I mean? Because it's my guitar. But can you imagine giving away a person, actually giving away a person? And the one that you've only got one of. Have you noticed there's only one of each of us? You can't say, oh, well, I'll be all right without that one because I got another one. It doesn't work that way, does it? My Auntie Margaret, she had 6 daughters. And she used to say, and I haven't got one to spare. And I know what she means by that, yeah? Because she didn't have any to spare. And I began to think about the fact that not only does God give away the one thing in creation, in the universe, in eternity, that he loves the most, but he gives this gift away to people that will not value the gift. So maybe I could buy a lovely gift, I could buy a lovely guitar for somebody, and then they could just chuck it to the side and damage it, and a few months later it's unplayable and unusable because they haven't valued it. And that's what happened to Jesus, isn't it? So not only did God give away the most valuable thing he had in eternity, he gave it as in all of its innocence and love to people who didn't respect or revere, and in fact people who did worse than that, who arrested him, who tortured him, and who murdered him. What an incredible thing to do. No wonder we give gifts at Christmas. For God so loved the world that he gave. And so our giving of gifts is just a pale echo. Let's go to the first gifts. Thank you, John. And you do know them, and we've talked about them a little bit. The gold and the frankincense and the myrrh. Do we know which is which there? Obviously, the gold is in the middle, but anybody know, is it the frankincense on the left or the right? Which are those? The frankincense is on the right and the myrrh on the left. Anyone disagree with that? Yeah, you're absolutely right. Myrrh is smaller and darker, generally speaking. And later on, if you come to look at our myrrh, I don't know whether it's how it is scraped off the tree, but the myrrh is flakier. Can you hear it? It's a bit flaky and hard, and it's darker in colour. It's a darker resin. And the frankincense, look at that big lump there. It's much lighter in colour, and some of it is really almost yellow. Oops, and some of it just went on the floor as well, which Ted said it would, and he was right. It did. So I'm interested, really, and I just want to reflect literally for a few minutes now about each of these gifts and what they meant, because they weren't random. They really weren't. And 2 of these gifts, the gold, and the frankincense were kind of understandable gifts. You know, you've just had a baby, right? You probably need more money to look after that baby, and you need gold would have been, you know, incredibly useful to Mary and Joseph. They weren't, you know, wealthy people, and that would have been incredible. The frankincense would have been seen as a traditional perfume, so therefore that feels appropriate for the baby. But the myrrh was really almost inappropriate, and I want to look at why. Obviously, around the gold, if you take us forward a little bit, John, and you'll have to click about 5 times, because I just remembered that I animated it. There we are. There's a message there around the gold that this child is royal, because gold was then and still is a rare commodity. So I can't go outside of my house into my garden and dig and find gold. It's just not there. Gold is only in certain places, isn't it? And it's mined carefully or panned. And actually, when we find it, we find very small amounts of gold, don't we? And, you know, we would never find a huge nugget. I think the largest nugget has only been, you know, the size of probably larger than a tennis ball. We don't find massive nuggets. And that makes gold very rare and appreciated, doesn't it? I got some gold. I'm sure that some of you have. I've got a Clogau ring here. Some of you might be wearing gold. And even a small gold item is expensive, isn't it? It's hundreds and hundreds of pounds for something small. So there is something about gold signifying royalty. The idea is that gold is only given to those who are of a higher esteem, you know, and it signifies wealth. And the reason why these wise men gave gold to this child wasn't just to help his parents financially. It was a signal to the world that this child is a king. This child is royal. He might be lying. Don't you love our baby Jesus, by the way? He's been propped up this morning. He might be lying in a manger, and he's in a lowly place, but he is a king. So the gold signifies, and is quite a fitting gift, and it signifies his royalty. King Jesus. Thank you, John. But if you think about the frankincense, that also is a very appropriate gift. Frankincense was used a lot in the Old Testament. You can have, there are references to it in the book of Leviticus, where it was burned in the way that I'm going to burn it, or when we light our fire next, for a sweet fragrance, for a beautiful aroma. And the idea was that, and it's the same in the Catholic Church today, that the aroma fills the place and it signifies praise. It's something beautiful and sweet smelling and aromatic. And the idea is that from the fire, as part of the smoke, the aroma of the frankincense rises as a praise. So it's symbolic. And frankincense should smell sweet. I hope it does when I burn it. And it's certainly, when you add a little bit of oil to it, you can really smell it. It's got that lovely pungent smell. And so the frankincense was given by the 3 wise men as a sign that this child was divine. And it was such a beautiful symbol. So we've got a king, and then we've got a sense of his being deity. So that is kind of feels appropriate, feels right to give a new baby those gifts. But myrrh, this is a bit different. If you take us forward, John, myrrh is really more for infusing in oil. And it comes from, and I didn't know this, I had to look it up, but it comes from a rare thorn bush in Arabia and particularly in Ethiopia. And the myrrh is scraped off the tree as a resin, as you would expect, as I was explaining earlier. But it's warmed in oil, and then it infuses the oil, and then eventually is used for an embalming oil. Some of you probably already knew that. But myrrh was used at burial, to prepare bodies for burial. And as somebody once said, embalming liquid never really appears at the top of a list of baby shower gifts, does it? Let's give them some embalming fluid. So interesting, isn't it? But these 3 men, you've got to ask yourself something about them, haven't you? You know, they were strangers from another land. They bring gold and they bring frankincense, and they bring embalming fluid. How interesting that is, because that is part of a foreshadowing, isn't it, of what this child will be. He is a king, he is divine, but he is human. He's fully human. And not just human, but we are foreshadowing that this completely kingly and worshipful majesty would willingly lay down his life for the sins of the world. He would be prepared for burial. It's not that many chapters later that we read in Luke of how they prepared. They went along to the tomb to prepare Jesus' body. It's incredible, isn't it? How these three wise men, what was the conversation around the campfire? What are you going to give him? Oh, I'm giving him gold. Oh, that's wonderful. That signifies his kingship. He's royal. He must be the way we've been following this star for the last 2 years. What are you giving him? Oh, I'm going to give him frankincense, the very best frankincense I could find. Real high-grade frankincense, just to show his divinity. And what about you? Well, I thought about myrrh. Really? I wonder what the conversation was around the fire, the campfire. So kingliness, divinity, and humanity. And I just want to finish there, really. And as I do that, first of all, can I ask you, Clive, to come and light our love candle? Because we've been talking so much about love, haven't we? We've talked about these love gifts that we give to our families. Watch your hair, don't catch fire, Clive. That would be just a nightmare. These love gifts to our family that we give to the people we love. And that is a shadow of God's love for us. Thank you, Clive. And also that the love that he had for us in giving us his most valuable, his most beautiful possession. I'm moving this. It's not working. It's just I can't see the notes. And then finally, to think about the Christ candle itself, and we'll be lighting it in a few minutes, and just how the gifts that were given that day, what does that mean for me? It's a lovely story. It happened a long time ago. What does it actually mean for me? And I think, and I was reflecting on this again yesterday, I was just finishing preparing this. Everybody's got to do something with this child. You've got to do something with him. Herod tried to have him killed. The three wise men, they brought gifts and they worshipped him. We read about the shepherds about 5 times this morning, didn't we? We know the shepherds. They came to worship him as well. Callum, just give us a wave because we're for the shepherds. Thank you, Callum. They came and did something. And the gospel of Jesus Christ, the true story of the coming of the Christ child to die for us, with the myrrh foreshadowing that story. We've got to do something with it. We've got to do something with him. And the Bible says something interesting. It says that many people stumble over him. Isn't that interesting? The word in the Greek is scandalon, or our word scandalous is based on that word in the Greek. And it means that some people are scandalized in their hearts, offended almost by this story of this baby. That people just are pushed off and turned away. They are scandalized. In their hearts, they turn away. Everybody's got to do something with this baby. Whether it's worship, whether it's getting on your knees, bringing gifts. And how do you bring gifts? What do? You give more time. You give of your energies. You give your belief. You give your care. You do what he asks you to do. That's the greatest gift you can give. He doesn't want your money. So I would just encourage you this morning to think about you, the Christ candle, and the 3 gifts that came and what they meant, and then you or me. Because each one of us, am I scandalized? Do I turn away? Or do I think, yeah, I can receive a Christ child who actually turned up knowing that he would be rejected. And he still loved them. The scriptures are so wonderful. It says, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. He didn't die for us because we were fab or loving or wonderful or even worth dying for. We weren't worth dying for. He died for us because he loved us. Just that simply. Okay, what we're going to do now is, please, Dave, if you don't mind, during the prayer time, Dave, if you can come up and really watch your hair, because there's a lot of hair there, Dave. I just don't know how she does it, absolutely. So during the prayer time, if you could come up, Dave, thank you, and light the Christ candle. We'll have a really short time of prayer, and then we'll have our final carol. Thank you, Dave. Let's pray. Father God, you are not asking us for gold or rare spices, but you do invite us to give you the best of what we have. It could be our time, it could be our talents, our love, our trust. Just as those 3 wise men offered their treasures with joy and reverence, we are called to offer our hearts and lives to you in an act of worship. And this season, Lord, is the perfect time to reflect on what we can bring to Jesus. And you might be asking different things of different people, and that's okay. It could be that you're asking for us to take a step of faith in a way that we feel nervous about, maybe sharing your love with others. You might want us to make a selfless sacrifice of service to someone that is in need. It could be anything. But we're reminded, Father, of your wanting us to make our own Christ decision this morning. We will do something, each one of us, in our lives. We will do something with this baby. We will either receive and accept the child, or we will not. And you never force that upon us. And so, Father, I pray for every single person here that they will be given grace to see that Christ child for who he really would become. And to think about the myrrh, Lord, in particular, how it was such a fitting gift in reality for this child that had been born. And I speak a blessing, and I pray that you will give blessing, Lord, to every person that is in this service today, every child and every person helping in the back room there as they have Kiddies Church. I pray a blessing over everyone and your peace and joy, Lord, over this Christmas period. We are aware that there are sadnesses in lives and families, and we know that you know everyone. And we just ask for your joy and your love to surround each one. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you. I think we're going to call the children as well, aren't we, at some point, just to let them know that we are finished.